All right, so taking a look at page 2 here, we're going to calculate the gradient or the slope of the line AB. So once again, we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So second point, B, y coordinate is 0, minus y1, which is A, y coordinate is 4, x2, so B, x coordinate is 6, and then we get minus 0. So this is negative 4 over 6, which is also reduced to negative 2/3. So that's the slope of that line. Okay. Find the midpoint of line AC. So once again, we're going to do add and divide by 2. That's the average. So x2 plus x1 over 2, and then y2 plus y1 over 2. So x2, so we're going to go C, x is 8 plus x1 for A is 0 over 2. And then we're going to go y2 is 3 plus 4 over 2. So this is equal to 8 divided by 2, which is 4, and then 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5, or 7 over 2. If you want to leave it, that's fine. And then we're going to calculate the length of line AC. So if we use the distance formula, all right, that's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Remember, midpoint, we got to have these parentheses there, so don't forget them, okay? And then distance is going to be that radical. So for AC, the second x is 8 minus the first x, which is 0 squared, plus C, y coordinate is 3 minus the second y, which is 4 squared, and we end up with the square root of 8 squared plus negative 1 squared. And so this ends up being the square root of 65. It doesn't say round to the nearest whatever, and then the square root of 65, I believe it's 5 and 13, so it is prime. Or not prime, but it doesn't reduce. All right, find the equation of line BM. So first thing we need, if we're going to find the equation, you guys remember, number 1 is the slope, number 2 is the y-intercept. So we have B, and we also have M from the midpoint, so we'll do the slope first. So y2, we'll go M first, so that's 3.5, minus B, which is 6, over, and then x2, so 4, minus, and then timeout. Rewind. Let's try that again. So y2, 3.5, minus y1 from B, that's 0. There we go. x2 is 4, minus x1, which is 6. So just remember that the 4 and the 3.5 here should be stacked over each other, y first, and then the 6 and the 0 here should be stacked over each other. All right, so this is equal to 3.5 over negative 2, and that is essentially, I believe that is going to be negative 1.75. If we want to keep it as a fraction, we can. It is, and that's negative 7 over 4. All right, and if you want to, we can do negative 1.75. It's okay if you want to leave it like that as well. All right, and then we're going to want to find the equation. So we still have to find B. So we're going to take our equation y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in. So we'll use point B. And the reason I'm going to use that is it has a 0 in it. So we're going to get y, well, y we already know, so we don't have to put y again. So the y is 0 equals m, which is negative 1.75. We can keep it as a decimal if we want, times x, which is 6, and then plus b. So negative 1.75 times 6 is negative 10.5. So 0 equals negative 10.5 plus b, and then we're going to move that to the other side by adding it, and we're going to get that b is equal to 10.5. And so our equation is y equals negative 1.75x plus 10.5. All right. If we wanted to use a point slope form, you guys remember y minus y1. So if we want to use that point right there, y minus 3.5 is equal to our slope, which is negative 1.75 times x, and then it's minus 4. And ideally, we might, instead of doing that, we might put negative 7 over 4, but it's okay. All right, whether AB is perpendicular to line BC. So AB we know has a slope of negative 2/3. We want to find the slope of BC. So we already know the slope of AB is negative 2/3. Okay, that's a terrible looking negative 2/3. Let's go back and change that for a second. We're going to need to find the slope of 2/3. All right, we're going to need to go to find the slope of BC, which is 6, 0, and 8, 3. So 6, 0, and then 8, 3. All right, so let's do it. So y2 is 3 minus y1, 0 over x2, 8 minus x1, which is 6. That gives me 3 over 2. So our first slope is negative 2/3, right? This is the slope of BC, which is 3 over 2. So we can say that yes, they are indeed perpendicular. You can use the symbol here. And the reason why is the slopes are negative reciprocals. All right. If you forget, just remember that the slopes are change signed and flipped over. If you want to go with that, go for it. Okay. So, second one, we're going to find the values of S and T. So remember, we can use a leapfrog for this. So A has a formula S8. All right. M is next, so that goes over here, and that's the formula 2, 3. And that goes on to the next point, which is B, and that has coordinates negative 2t. So let's do the x first. So I'm going to work backwards. If I go from negative 2 to 2, I have to add 4. So if I go from 2 to s, I'm going to add 4 more. So 2 plus 4 is 6, so s is equal to 6. And if we go in the other direction, if I go from 8 to 3, I'm going down 5. So if I go from 3 to t, I have to also go down 5. 3 minus 5, we know t is equal to negative 2. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. So our point A actually has the coordinates of 6, 8. And then B has the coordinates of negative 2, negative 2. So remember what we want to do. Find the slope, find the y-intercept, and we also need the midpoint in here too. Okay, slope, midpoint, y-intercept. So first thing we do is find the slope. So y2, we'll do negative 2, minus y1, which is 8, x2, negative 2, minus x1, which is 6. So just working on that order again. And negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. Negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. And that gives me a slope of 5 over 4. So that means the perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal. So that's my slope that I'm going to use. And then I need the midpoint. Okay. That's add divided by 2. So the x's, negative 2 plus 6 over 2. And then the y's, so negative 2 plus 8 over 2. So that gives me 4 over 2 and 6 over 2. So my midpoint is 2, 3. Okay? And that's my midpoint. And now we're going to plug in. So I take my equation, y equals mx plus b. I substitute in the x and y here from my point. 3, slope is negative 4/5 times x, which is 2, plus b. So 2 times negative 4/5, get a calculator for this, if you want to, is negative 1.6, which is also negative 8/5. So it's up to you. Okay. I feel like most of you guys would want it as a fraction. Negative 1.6 plus b, and then we'll add that 1.6 over. Okay. So this is 4.6, and then our equation, y equals negative 4 over 5x plus 4.6. Want to use slope, point slope form, but you can do that. So that's y minus, not equals, y minus y1 all right, equals m, and then x minus x1. So this would be y, and then we're going to use our midpoint here. So y minus 3 equals our slope, which is negative 4/5 times x minus 2. All right, write down the slope. So if we're doing y equals mx plus b, we know that the slope is equal to 3. Perpendicular to that would be the negative reciprocal. So if it's 3 over 1, all right, then that is going to turn into a perpendicular slope of negative 1/3. And then find the equation perpendicular. So we want to use that perpendicular slope again of negative 1/3 with x and y to go find b. So y equals mx plus b. We plug in the y, 7, that's negative 1/3 times 6 plus b. Negative 1/3 to 6 is negative 2. That's plus b. And then we'll add the 2. I just want to clean that up since I'm going to send this to you guys later as answers. So plus b, add 2, we get 9 is equal to b. All right, and then we can state our equation. So y equals mx plus b, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 9. And then if we were doing point slope form again, we could do y minus 7 is equal to negative 1/3 and then x minus 6. All right, that's page 2.